Recall in the last video that we introduced the paradox of painful art. Comedy can make painfulness more digestible, but the same cannot obviously be said of horror, where pain is put on full display. Furthermore, horror involves a number of strong emotions we typically try to avoid. In what follows, we will explore Noel Carroll's notion of horror. Simply stated, horror equals fear plus disgust. But how can people be drawn to what is repulsive? Horror films must be, in some sense, attractive. How else to explain the widespread popularity of the genre? Maybe we can say that individuals who appreciate the genre are abnormal or perverse. But it doesn't seem like we can explain this in a way that is not question-begging. A person who enjoys horror flicks is perverse. We know this because only a perverse person would enjoy such a flick. This explanation fails because it assumes what it sets out to prove. If those who enjoy horror films are perverse, then of course, horror films are enjoyed by perverse people. So this attempt at an explanation is unhelpful. Central to Carroll's notion of horror is the monster, a physically impossible being that is impure, and it defies our notion of nature. A monster is a threatening creature not thought to exist by modern science. Of course, the term modern science here relates to the world of the narrative, which can extend beyond the world of nonfiction. Monsters arouse the audience's interest by being inexplicable, which prompts a need for proof. Monsters must be disturbing or repulsive for the discovery to be rewarding in a pleasurable way. In this way, the monster plays a functional role within a larger narrative structure. It's important to note that, as a genre, horror narratives tend to utilize a 4-act structure: onset, discovery, confirmation, and confrontation. Horror narratives revolve around proving, disclosing, discovering, and confirming the existence of something that is impossible. Horror films are really a protracted series of discoveries. In this notion, horror is, to a large extent, driven by curiosity. The genre puts off final confirmation of the existence of the monster until later in the film, which builds the audience's expectations. But once the existence or even nature of the monster is established, the question often becomes whether or not the monster can be destroyed. So the source of our pleasure and interest in horror is primarily that it involves processes of discovery, proof, and confirmation. We are drawn to knowing what is allegedly unknowable. It is not that we crave disgust in art horror, mind you, but that such an emotion naturally accompanies disclosing the unknown. In closing, let's ask ourselves if there are any problems with this assessment. First, is it too restrictive? Are there films that are typically thought of as horror that don't fit within this notion? Psychopaths like Hannibal Lecter or Norman Bates seem like monsters, but are not otherworldly. Murderous psychopaths are known to exist. Maybe here we find the difference between horror and thriller. The monster is otherworldly in the former, but not in the latter. 2. What about gore porn? Film franchises like Saw, Hostel, or Human Centipede. Is it not the case that a number of individuals watching gore porn simply because they like seeing people getting butchered? If so, this may take us back to the original worry that those who enjoy horror films are perverse.